Welcome back. At the end of the last video, we had a GUI that we could use to edit movies, and information about movies. And while this GUI was fine in appearance, we were willing to work with it. We found that it really wasn't all that useful, in the sense that there were aspects of it that didn't do anything. And the problem is that right now we only have enough information or enough knowledge to make it so that we can have our menu items and buttons interact. And this application has menu items, and they do indeed interact with the user the way that we want to. But we don't have any buttons, and what we do have is we have a list here, and we'd like to have it so that we can select things from the list like this, and that when we click on them, their information should pop up over here. And it would also be nice if when we edit things over here, if that goes into the changes on this side. So that is functionality that we need to add, and right now we don't know how to make anything other than menu items or buttons interactive with the user. So we need to add that to our knowledge base. So the way that Scala does this is to use something called called publishers and reactors. Okay, publishers are things that signal that something has happened, and reactors are things that are supposed to react to the stuff that's happened. Turns out that every GUI component is both a publisher and a reactor, and as we'll see, some of the GUI components have additional publishers inside of them that publish specific types of events. So if you have a publisher and you want to listen to things that it is doing, you need to call a method called listen_to. If you are done listening to something, you can also call def_to. And in our case, the first thing that we would like to have in our interactivity is to make it so that our movie list will listen to when the user selects items, and then change the information in the title field, the year field, and the rating box, as well as the description area, based on that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put some code kind of nested inside of the movie list here. And the first thing we want to do is we need it to listen to something. Now, it could listen to itself. We would call that listen to this, the current object. But it turns out that what we want to listen to is the selections that are made on the list. And if you go and you look in the API and you look under list view, you will see that there is actually an object in here called selection, which is itself a publisher. So that's what we are going to listen to. We're going to listen to selection. And it knows what selection we're talking about because we're nested inside of the list view here. So when we start listening to the selection, we will get whatever selection events come through. Now, in order to act on those, we have to add reactions. And all of our reactors have the ability to add reactions into them. And I'm just going to go ahead and type in what the syntax looks like, and then we can talk about what this actually means. Now we'll modify this some. That should be plural. So, for example, the list view, if we were to come back, or actually, yeah, the list view, since we're inside of it, it has a reactions, which is of type reactions, and in the syntax here, you can see that we are adding something onto this, and it's just curly braces with a case inside of it. This is a piece of Scala syntax that we haven't seen before. This is something called a partial function. So you can actually build these wherever you want. If you just put curly braces with cases inside of it, it's kind of like a match statement which happens to be missing the match part of it. Okay, that defines a partial function. Now the difference between a partial function and a normal function is that a normal function is supposed to be callable on every value of the appropriate type. So for example, if you write a function and it takes as an argument an int, the idea is that it's going to do whatever it does for all ints. Okay, that's the idea of a complete function, a normal function. A partial function doesn't have to do that. A partial function can be limited to say, I only work on certain things. And in this case, we're going to make it so our partial function only cares about certain types of events. Now, right now, this listens to anything that comes in because this lowercase e here gets bound to any variable that's passed in. Now, what's going to be passed into here are events. And these are inside of a separate package. So we've been playing with Scala Swing. All the events that we're going to deal with are inside of Scala Swing event. And as you can see, there are a fair number of these events. So we need to have the ability to change this up, or to find the appropriate one of these. And in fact, that was why I put in a print statement here, was that a lot of times you don't know in advance what events you're going to be listening to. And you can go through this list, and in this case it turns out we might think that a list change or list changed or list selection changed, something like that seems like a very reasonable event. But one way to know for certain what you are being passed inside of your reactions is just to print it. So if you make a case with just a variable name, it binds to anything and you can print that thing out. And now if we run this and we go ahead and we open our file, when I click here, you'll notice something got printed out over there. And the thing that got printed out was actually selection changed. It was not list selection changed. So that is the type of event that we care about. So inside of our case here, I'm actually going to make it so it only responds to the selection changed events. I don't want to care about anything else. So this is a partial function that will work for any event, and we're calling it E, that is of the type selection changed. And what I want to do is to not print it out, but instead to act upon it. And what I want to do is I want to know what they selected, and actually I'm going to remember that in a var up here. Actually no, have to think about, no, we're good with not doing that. We can ask for what index is being selected at any time, but I want to fill in all of these fields. So for example, I want the title field to be to have its text set equal to the title of the movie. So the question is, how do we find that? Well, we can go back to the API and look inside of selection. And selection has a number of things that will tell us what is selected. So for example, there is indices, where it will give you a numeric value, and there is items. Now of course, one of the challenges here is that a list will actually allow you to select multiple things by default, and we might actually want to have the ability to change that to turn that off, though at this point we don't really care so much. In fact, we could change it here with the changing the interval mode in this. So what we want to do is we want to get off the first index, and in fact lead index will inevitably give us that information. So we can come inside of here and actually, just to make sure, print line e dot lead, oh wait, no, this is the selection dot lead index. And now if we run this, oh, this error not found, type selection changed. that error should tell you normally that you're probably missing an import statement. So if we import that, we open our file 0, 1, 0, 1. Okay, so it is doing what we want there, giving us just the index. So what we can do, let's say val index, or actually how about val movie equals movies sub selection dot lead index. Okay, now we might find that there are some problems with this, but hey, for now we're just going to ignore that possibility. And I want to set title field dot text equal to movie dot title. Year field dot text equals movie dot year dot toString. Rating combo box dot now there's an interesting question. What do we set on the combo box? Well, go and we ask the API. So if we go into the API here, we can look for various things that we can set on this. It, like the list, has a selection, and you can set the item in it. So let's come back over here, dot selection dot item equals movie dot rating, and description area dot text equals movie dot description. We can save that. We can run this. We open our file. We click on Bambi now. Bingo. I can change that just to make sure that it is being reset. And that is indeed the functionality that we wanted to have. So we'll pause at this point and come back and add some more functionality in the next video.